Hey there, my name is Letitia Pfinder, and welcome to my channel for another episode of Follow Along Friday. Today we'll be making this black and white Sending You Love card with some hand lettering on it. I'll be using it as a get well card, but you can turn it into whatever you want. I did add to the inside of the card, but I'm going to leave that up to you to do so you can decide what you want to use this sweet card for. To make the card, you'll need some white cardstock or a white pre-folded card. I'm just using some white Recollections cardstock, and I've cut it and scored it to an A2 size. You also need some black cardstock, and I've already pre-cut this just to fit, and it's just a mat. So I cut it about a 1/4 inch smaller than the white, just so it frames. And you'll also need some scraps of both, again, to mat and frame. Okay. You'll also need some adhesive. You can use glue or whatever you want. Some foam adhesive. Some more scrap white. Some scissors. Some ink. An eraser. Pencil. White gel pen. And a fine liner. This is just a permanent marker. And you also need your stamps. So I'm using this little paper airplane, and it is from the OMG Teeny Boppers Clear Stamp Set, which I actually got free in a magazine, and it's by Clear Impressions. And it's just this guy right here. I don't know if you can, there you go. Alright, so let's get started. I'm just going to set my card base to the side because I always work on the front of it first before I adhere it, just in case I make a mistake. Alright, so I'm actually going to start off with my lettering, just to get it out of the way. And all I did for this was cut it to the size that I thought would look good down here. And see, it's kind of how it's going to sit, just like this. And you can change the size depending on what you want to do. Now, also, I'm hand lettering, but if you have a stamp set that you'd like to use, then by all means go ahead. My original plan for this was to actually heat emboss it, but then I realized I didn't really have a bright white embossing powder, so that wasn't going to work out for me. So I came up with this instead, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think it works out really well. Okay, so to do the hand lettering, all I've done is make a light line with the pencil down the middle, just to give a line to write on, like how you would write on lined paper. And all I did was go in, I don't know if you can see that, is write just simply, very simply, how I would normally write the sentiment I want. Now, I actually did this a little smaller than I wanted to, but I think I'm going to just work with it to show you guys. So I'm just taking a gel pen, and this is just something you can take your time on. You know, you want to be careful with it if you're not comfortable with hand lettering it. And all I'm going to do is go over this, again, just simply, how I would write anything. See? Alright. Now, to make it a little more fancy, I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little ball on the end there. And then I'm going to go in and smooth it out just a tiny bit, thickening up the lines where I feel the would thicken naturally in a brush stroke. So that would be on most down strokes. So that's in this curve. I'm going to do it again in this curve. And come up lightly and add another little ball in there. See? This is a really, really simple way to add some interest to some hand lettering, especially if you're just getting used to hand lettering. I mean, I'm pretty new to this myself, so yeah, you can learn along with me. Alright, so I'm just going to keep doing that to all of the letters. Just adding a little ball on the ends, and then smoothing them out so that they're not sticking out like a sore thumb. Oh, I've got a lot of ink coming out of this. Alright. And you can always do a couple practice ones first, or even play with it a bit. I mean, if you like a different style of writing, you can come up with your own. Have fun with it. I love hand lettering. I think it's really, really relaxing. And for the O's, I'm just adding a little dot, and then I'm just blending it in like it was meant to be there. This might be a little hard for you guys to see since it's so tiny. And I'll show you on the one I already did in a minute. Alright. Now, because the gel pen stays really wet for quite some time, I'm going to set this to the side and let it dry. I mean, it doesn't take hours or anything, but it needs a little bit of time. And then we can erase the lines that are left. And I'm just going to show you the one I've already done, so you can see the little dots that have been added. So I know this one's a little easier to see for you guys. Alright. Alright, and now I'm going to move on to my stamping and creating of the clouds. So we're going to start off with stamping, and I've just got some scrap white cardstock here, my Memento Tuxedo Black ink that my son happened to get into, in case you haven't seen. I'm just going to go ahead and ink that up. I think it's running out a bit. It's a good thing I bought a new one. He actually got into it the other day and stamped it all over his body, and it wasn't fun for me to clean up, I'll tell you that much. He's not allowed in my room or in my craft stuff, but you know, he's a toddler and he gets into things. Stuff happens. Okay. Just gonna go ahead and stamp that just in the corner because we're gonna be cutting it out. There we go. Nice clean image. Right, and I'm just gonna quickly cut this out. I'm going to square it off first because I'm not really fussy cutting it. I'm going to be leaving a border and rounding off the edges so it's not such a sharp image. And I'm just eyeballing this. I mean, if you're more comfortable, you can definitely draw lines. I really should be using tiny craft scissors, but I always manage to lose them, so. And I'm trying to do it on camera for you guys. So instead of rounding them off as I go, I'm just going to cut around with the border first. Right. And I'm just going to round around the edges of all of those sharp corners. And this one, oops. I'm going to go in and try to get those little corners as well. There we go. All right, so we got that little guy done. And I'm going to go ahead and make our clouds. So again, I'm just taking some white cardstock, and I'm going to just freehand draw the clouds. Now, if you have a stamp, like a little cloud stamp, that would be perfect for this, and it'd be a lot faster. But this doesn't take much time. So to make clouds, I'm just going to make little kind of bumps, circular bumps. And we want 2 of them. It's fine, they don't have to be perfect because we're going to cut them out and draw over them. Alright, actually I'm going to fix, that looks a little odd. Alright, we'll make it, there we go. That looks a little better. Okay, and for these, again, the same thing. I'm cutting them out. And I'm going to cut them out with a border around them. Ooh, I hope you guys, you might hear a little funny noise in the background, and it's just my fan in my bedroom because, oh my goodness, is it ever hot here. I hope it's not so hot for you guys. I hope this doesn't last too long, but it's supposed to last all week. I feel like the beginning of September shouldn't be this hot, but oh well, what can you do, right? This will probably take you guys less time with some small craft scissors. I swear one of these days, one of you is probably going to send me a pair just to send me a pair. I always lose them. Alright. It's not so much that they're lost, I guess. They're kicking around in like a pile of stuff somewhere because I still haven't completely gotten my art and my craft stuff all organized in this new place, so it's in different totes and closets. I keep trying to use it all, and then it gets put away in different places, and you know how it is after you move. Alright. Okay, there we go. And to finish those clouds off, I'm just going to go in with my fine liner and trace right over. Actually, I'm going to lighten the lines a little bit. As this is just a kneaded eraser, and if you just want to lighten something, I mean, it does completely erase, but if you just want to lighten something, if you just push down and kind of twist a little, you can lighten the lines. And this marker tends to I guess because it's a permanent marker, the graphite like almost acts as a resist sometimes. So when you lighten it, it helps it out. It helps it sink into the paper more. There we go, and I'm just tracing over the lines. Very simple. There we go. And I'm going to go in now, push those to the side, and I'm just going to erase those lines I have in the back. Any pencil marks. Just to clean it up, make it nice and crisp. Alright, there we go. Let's take this card base back. And I think I'm going to start sticking this stuff down now. So, adhere this. And I just want to center it. So, that's going to go here. I think this is what we're going to do with them, just like the other one. I think that works. Okay, I'm going to start sticking them down. I'm going to stick down the plane first. Okay. And I'm just using the same adhesive. I'm going to put it right here. Stick this down. Now, I'm not centering this, I'm putting it towards the edge of the black mat, like that. Alright, now for this part, I'm not going to put the foam adhesive on just yet because it'll get in my way while I'm trying to draw. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to figure out where I want the heart to be. So that heart, and I want it about here. So I'm just going to lightly draw it in as a solid line, just so I have a basic heart shape. Now I'm going to go in and start dotting. You can even do a solid line here if you want, because you know it's going to end up being a dotted line. Okay. And that's the path I want it to take. So then all we do is go in with the white gel pen and start adding in those dotted lines. Just following the path that you drew. Very simple, and it's such a cute effect on a card. Alright, go, and again we're going to let it dry before we erase those lines. And while we're waiting, we can go ahead and stick on these clouds with some foam adhesive. And I'm just going to pop them off. And I'm going to cut them in half because I feel like it gives it a little more support this way. Having them on the end instead of just having like one in the middle. And that way I'm not wasting two of them as well. I'm just going to stick one there. And one here. And go ahead and stick that on right there. And same thing to the other one. Cutting them in half is actually like a little tip my mom gave me to make them last a little longer, so you don't have to keep buying them. Right there. Alright, so now that's done. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm actually just going to use some normal double-sided tape for this part, so I'm not having to press down on the foam adhesive. I did just use the other glue runner on the first one I made, and it works. It just scared me a little bit because I didn't want to bend the foam adhesive at all. Keeps getting like stuck right on my fingers. Alright. Oops. I think because it's so hot in here, I guess it's making my fingers hotter, so it's just doing that. Alright, so now all we're going to do is stick that on, and then erase those pencil marks from the gel lines that we just put in. Alright, and then let me just center it right here. And erase the lines. And there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Follow Along Friday. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more from me, you can click that subscribe button and you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. If you use this or any of my other tutorials to make something, I would love to see. You can share them with me through social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My usernames are in the description box below. If there's anything you'd like to see me do on this channel, be sure to let me know as well. Don't be shy. Let me know in the comment section below what you would use this card for. Until next time, my crafty friends.